What do you call a millionaire gym owner who's earning more than $100,000 a year from a very profitable gym? And how do we help them earn even more than that? You're going to find out today on Run a Profitable Gym. I'm your host, Mike Warkentin. Please hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. With me today, Joleen Bingham. She is a very successful gym owner in her own right, but she's going to take off that hat and put on a different one to represent the Two Brain program she runs to help elite gym owners find incredible success. Joleen, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me here.
I got to hang out with you in Columbus, Ohio at a recent Tinker meetup, and it was great to be in the room. I was taking pictures of your crew, and it was great to see what you guys are up to. So I couldn't think of a better person to have on the show to talk about this and tell gym owners out there what this program is all about. So let's dig right in, because I got fired up when I saw you guys solving problems in Columbus. So what's a Two Brain Tinker? Why does this program exist?
Yeah, so great question. A tinker is, and actually it's a great question because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So I'm really excited to talk about what it really is.
Let's lay it out so people know, because this is a very cool thing that they can aspire to and join one day.
So a tinker is someone who is looking to challenge themselves. In Two Brain, we talk about in the growth phase that we want gym owners to have a net worth of $100,000. We want to prepare them. We want to have them be able to take care of their families. And when they hit that point, we want to help them reach their personal financial goals at that point as well. So when they get to Tinker, we are talking about reaching millionaire status. We're talking about setting them up for their financial future down the road for their families and creating that lasting legacy. And that's really why this program exists. We want them to be able to be financially secure and free while they're still young enough to be able to enjoy it, and not while they're sitting in a chair, not doing anything.
Yeah. And so the initial phases of True Brain mentorship, fundamental stuff where you're going to get some quick wins early on. You're going to work with a mentor one-on-one. You're going to build the structures of your business, and you're going to start to master that structure and use a dashboard to figure out what you need to do and how you can fix things fast. But then once you start to be that CEO and you're starting to get some wind behind your sails there, I'm making $100,000. I've got a good handle on my business. What next? And that's where you come in. So let's talk a little bit about some of the success stories. So I want to see, before we dig into the details, what are some of the things that some people have accomplished in this program? Give people an idea, listeners, what's going on.
Right. So one of the first goals that we talk about is certifying millionaires. Right. That's a big deal. And that's a big deal for everybody who's been there. But this program so far has certified 54 millionaires. And right.
These are all fitness entrepreneurs?
Those are all fitness entrepreneurs.
Like just your average gym owner. I bet you couldn't have found many of those back in, 2015. Probably weren't any.
No, I was definitely not one of those
54.
either.
Wow.
Yeah, 54, and even more impressive, 7 in the last quarter alone. So
so we're building momentum.
Yes, we're building a lot of momentum. 7 new families who now are working to create this legacy for their family who didn't have it before. And some of our best before and after stories are from gym owners who already had a high level of earn, right? They're making $100,000, but they don't really have any focus. Okay, now I'm making good money, but what do I do with it, right? They don't have any plan set up. So just some of the before and after stories. We had people who've gone from zero in real estate, owning zero, to over 2.5 million in less than 2 years. Wow. They started with a net worth of 400,000-ish, including their house, and now worth over 2.4 million in 3 years. Owning zero rental properties to 9 doors in 2 years, right? But it's not just about real estate and money. So we talk about they've grown their gym by 30%. And these are people who are making $100,000. So their gym is doing well. So these are fairly large numbers. In the first year in Tinker alone, one person took 10 vacations with her family in a year. That's almost 1 vacation a month, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. Yeah. And maybe we're not talking a 10-day vacation, but pretty long ones. Also having the confidence in their leadership abilities to now partner with other people to open other businesses, right? So maybe they're not involved in the day-to-day anymore. They now can come in as an investor or a part owner, starting another business that's earning $50,000 a month. That's not in the fitness industry. They have the skills and the ability and the confidence to become a leader in another business, right? And then we talk simple things like net owner benefit increasing by $15,000. What could you do with an extra $15,000, right? Like that's pretty impressive. And one little tidbit I want to point out is that somebody earned $40,000 just by realizing they weren't utilizing the right tax strategies that they had heard talked about by other tinkers. Right. So that's a lot of different things and not just related to wealth. but all
So
different
devil's
kinds.
advocate, I'll say someone out there is listening saying, oh, I didn't get into this for the money. I don't care about the money or whatever. I just got into this to help people through my gym. What's your response to that? And the reason I ask is because I got into fitness training. I wasn't about the money, but at one point it became about the money for me because I was in pretty deep trouble.
Right. I say, okay, well, that's great. You can still help people and take care of your family as well and provide them a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 kids. I don't want to be 60 years old and have nothing set up for their college, have nothing set up for my own personal retirement. So I can help people in the fitness industry, but the primary goal of my business is to help myself and my family too. Mm-hmm. And there's a way to do that in the help first kind of way that still takes care of people, but takes care of yourself too, because that's really important.
Yeah. And the cool thing when I was in Columbus with you guys and I was looking around the room and I was like 50 or 60 of the Tinkers or whatever it was. And I looked at them. These are all the big wheels in their businesses. And they were all sitting in a room in Columbus for a few days, which means that someone else is running those businesses for them. They're not on fire. Everything is going well. And these people have the means to go somewhere else, figure out what they want to do next and how they can build more stuff. So that means their gyms are stable. It means they're not on the brink of oblivion like mine was. They're able to create careers for people. So someone is managing and running that business while they're not there. So you've got this stable business, careers in place, helping mountains of clients who aren't at risk of losing their trainers. And then these people can go get together and they're coming up with some incredible ideas that are helping even more people. So that whole idea of your help best, help first, that whole thing is right there in front of us. And it's not necessarily about the money, but money definitely solves the money problem. And I had that when I was struggling, and Two Brain helped me out of that. So that's a really interesting thing. If you're saying it's not about the money for you, if you have enough, you're going to have a stable business that helps more people and creates careers. And that's a really important thing in the fitness world. So let's get into the structure of the program. Meetups, mentorship, in-person peer support. What happens to a tinker?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's one that's really hard to explain at one time without sounding like you're just kind of giving a lot of information out, so we can walk through it piece by piece. But it's really, the Tinker program is based on 4 main pillars, right? We say our first goal is millionaire status. Our ultimate goal is to help them reach their financial net worth goal. But we do that in a couple different ways. So in Tinker, we divide into 4 pillars. One is wealth. Right? We have to educate people about how they can set their family up for success. We're not financial advisors. We don't say, go do this. We provide education on it. Yeah. Next pillar is leadership, because you have to fix yourself to fix your business. And it doesn't matter if your business is making $10,000 a month or if it's making $150,000 a month. Your leadership drives the progress of it. We talk about lifestyle, and lifestyle isn't really just about vacations, but it really is talking about how happy are you? How passionate are you about our business? How much time can you spend with your family? Some of that leads to more vacations, but it's not it at the end of the day. And then the last thing is scaling that we talk about with Tinker. So scaling can be your current business. It can be somebody who absolutely loves to work in the gym. It's their main thing. It will always be their main thing. But like we talked about, somebody grew their business 30% in that first year. But it could mean maybe buying other businesses, maybe becoming an investor in other businesses. So when I talk about the structure of the program, kind of keep in mind that it's from those 4 different like veins that we talk about, or pillars. Okay. The big thing is the 4 meetups. He said we were just in Rogue, or in Columbus at Rogue, which was really cool. They were
cool gracious
hosts of us, and they just provided an amazing facility. But we do 4 meetups a year, and we do them specifically on weekdays because this is work, right? This is your job, this is your business, and we want people to be at home and their families. So 4 meetups in person a year. We have guest speakers, expert speakers. We have workshops that we have people come in and do, and we really set people up for the next 90 days. I think the biggest thing that people walk away from that is, here's my 90-day plan to keep growing. So that's kind of the foundation of it, is those meetups. And I think what's not talked about enough is the relationships that get built, and why it's so important to go to those. You can have somebody say, well, I want to buy my building. The person across the circle can say, well, I have money I need to invest. And they talk about making a deal. That actually happened at the last meetup. So,
did it really?
Yes, it really did. It happened in one of our hot seats, which is where you help solve problems for other people. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And there's, and I'm not gonna lie. I saw some deals happening after the official Tinker ceremony is closed. I saw some people sitting in the bar doing other deals, and it was just sharing information and like solving problems. And it was really cool to see that camaraderie.
Yes. And that's really why those meetups are so important, is because of those relationships. Right? You have people who are going through all the same things that you are, the same struggles, and they truly understand it, and they want you to win.
Yeah, it's a really cool group.
So after those meetups, we do a weekly call, a weekly breakout call, we call them. And when you get on these calls, they are every single week, every Wednesday, and you go into a room based on one of those pillars. So if you're working on improving your wealth, go into the wealth room, and same for the others. But for example, this week in wealth, we have a guest speaker talking about a real estate strategy, right? A specific strategy of house hacking, but he's done it. He's an expert in it. He's going to teach our tinkers whether it's the right thing for them or not. Then you have two people now in Tinker who really are keeping you accountable to moving forward. You have your coach. These coaches are all mentors for Two Brains. So they are all certified mentors. They have the training, they have the experience, their businesses are wildly successful. But in Tinker, they function as, let's keep you moving forward to that goals. Let's take all the roadblocks out of the way. Let's kick you in the butt when you need it, ask you some hard questions when you need it to keep going, and really make sure you accomplish that. And then you also get a mentor who is there really to help you when you're stuck and to ask the hard questions and to help you figure out the way forward with it.
Let me ask you this. What's a situation that you saw a tinker struggling with, something that was really, really challenging that you or someone on your team or an expert helped them get through? Do you have something top of mind there?
Yeah. So I think one really good solution is staffing, right? Or one really, that's not a good problem, but one big problem is staffing. And we see this happen over and over again in gyms, but the ability to be a leader when your staff is either going behind your back to open up another business or is talking bad about you or doesn't like the policy changes that you've gone. And we've had one in particular recently who the problem was solved on a breakout call. He had a leadership issue. He took it to the leadership breakout call. And his comment after that was that 1 hour call was worth the entire cost of Tinker to be in there because he got such clarity on moving forward in his business.
Okay. So at this level, are we working one-on-one with a mentor at all, or is this all group stuff?
It's both, right? Okay. So you have the group in the mastermind calls, you have the group in the breakouts, you have some coaches who work with a small group of people who are working on things, but you also have the one-on-one conversations with your coach every other week, and you have a mentor when you need to pick up the call. So my job in Tinker and how I function is, hey, you've got a problem, let's get on the call right now and fix it. It might take 5 minutes, it might take an hour, but we're going to solve it right now for you.
And then you've got peer support, obviously, from, tinker to tinker.
Yes, correct. And that's why the masterminds or the meetups are so important. Okay.
So that's the structure of it, which is really, really, it's evolved from when it started, several years back into what I think is a really cool program that brings people together, but also allows them, like, I love the idea of these breakout rooms where it's like, my leadership stinks right now. My net worth is good, but I just can't seem to steer the ship. That's a really cool option for people. And then you've got your peers and you've got your coach. Everything's moving in one direction, which is amazing, especially to keep you on track, because sometimes you can get comfortable when you've got a good wage going. So I like that. Now, how does someone become a tinker? Like, what can they do to get into this program if they're thinking about it might be something they like to do?
Yeah. So the first thing is we want you to have a good net owner benefit, right? So that's why we said that 100,000 net owner benefit. When you hit that level, if you're a part of Two Brain, you're automatically referred for a Tinker readiness call. So we set up a call, we get on the call, we talk about your goals, how Tinker will accomplish it, and then we make a decision whether or not it's a good fit for you moving forward. But there's also the point where your mentor might identify, well, you're close on net owner benefit. Maybe you're making 80,000, maybe you're making 90,000. You just really need that push to get to the next level. And so your mentor might refer you as well. Or they might say, well, you're looking to buy a building, or maybe you want to open a second and third location. You're making a little bit less money because you've identified that you have staff you want to pay that extra money so you can focus on opening another business. And so those are kind of the different avenues that we see to get into Tinker. From those referrals and identifying where you are with net owner benefit.
Yeah. So this is a very natural part of the Two Brain Mentorship Ascension Plan, where you go through, like I said, foundational stuff, getting some momentum, ramping things up, working harder, achieving your net owner benefit goals, which is often $100,000 is a nice round number. Some people have more, different numbers than that, but that's fine. And then what do you do next? Tinker is the next step from that. And you guys have got an intake set up to help people do that. I talked to a few people in Columbus and I said, how are you doing? And just people that I knew from this podcast and other things. And they said, oh, I'm kind of feeling a little intimidated in this room. And the reason they said that is that they had been recommended strongly by a mentor to join this program. And they felt like this was their first meetup and they were a little nervous. Talk to me about that quote unquote imposter syndrome, or how do you feel like you're an elite gym owner, I
think we actually had a really great conversation about imposter syndrome at the meetup itself. think it was day one that we had this conversation, and recognizing that there are a lot of people that have imposter syndrome. I always tell the story of myself. Like, I wouldn't even walk into a room first because I was so scared that I didn't belong there. Our people coming into our gyms feel the same way, right? They feel they don't belong there, but it's not really imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is not a real thing. What you are is feeling feelings, right? And these feelings are fear. They're fear of failure, their fear of fitting in, their fear of getting results and ROI. And those are all things you can control. And so if you can control that fear and you can recognize that, first of all, the data shows I belong here, right? Like my net owner benefit shows I belong here.
That's the big one, the data, right?
Yeah, data. I have goals that show that I belong here. I want to do the things. And then you have to identify that I'm just going to feel this stuff and I'm going to push it aside. And I'm going to say, I do belong here. And I am going to, if I want to get the results that I want from this program, I'm going to have to actually just say, all right, this is a feeling, but now I'm just going to go do the thing I want to do.
I like it. And I like the idea of data because the feelings are the thing, right? You get that. But when your mentor says, I am looking at your data and you are clearly at this level and this program is going to be a great fit for you. So if you're listening out there, if you hear that, look at the numbers, look at your 2Brain dashboard, check it out. And that's something that's going to give you the feedback. And you can always just say, I feel a little bit intimidated being a room full of elite millionaire gym owners, but these numbers do not lie. You mentioned something interesting that I really want to dig into, ROI. And you mentioned it a little bit when you were talking about one of the people's success stories. How did gym owners measure ROI in the Tinker program? Because we teach them on the way up, every expense should come with income. So how do you measure it?
Right. And it's a little bit harder to measure when you have people working on different goals. So I try to break it down a little bit. If you have a wealth related goal, if you get into Tinker because you want to hit that millionaire status and you want to set yourself up for a financial future, your net worth is your ROI, right? If your net worth is increasing, if you've hit millionaire status, if you're working towards your net worth goal, that's how you measure it. But if you have a scale related goal, we can look at your net owner benefit and we can say, well, is your net owner benefit going up? If it's going up, that's a scale related goal. If you've opened other businesses and that's your goal, that's your ROI. Leadership, the same thing. With leadership, I think it's actually interesting because we can measure staff retention, but we can also measure it in EHR. So if your EHR or effective hourly rate, right? If you're not a part of 2Brain, effective hourly rate, and we can say, well, we're making more money now per hour because we have trained our staff to operate better without us, or we can take a vacation and not be in the gym for 30 days. And then maybe our EHR is 700, which a Tinker just had happen this week. Or a lifestyle goal. That one is harder to measure because that's more, I would say, a happiness quotient, right? Are you happy in your business? Do you look forward to going to work every day? Do you still have passion for it because you're not burned out and overwhelmed?
And what's the investment on learning a new skill or getting access to incredible experts? That's other stuff that you can think about too in that program is like, I get access to all these incredible peers. I get access to these experts that are brought in and I can learn a skill. Or here's an interesting one to think about. What would be the ROI on not doing something? Sometimes there's mistakes that are avoided and I heard some people talk about in the breakout sessions where they were like, I want to do this. And they talk through it and they're like, whoa, this is actually a monster mistake. And so the ROI there is not losing $100,000, which I thought was kind of fascinating.
Yes. And I think that's where having a wide variety of people in business, the length of time in business helps too, because I have made so many mistakes over the years that probably add up to over $100,000 that I now can tell people, well, are you thinking about these? And maybe they still go down that pathway, but at least they understand, like, here are the things to avoid and what not to do.
So we talked a little bit about people who are hesitant or maybe feel like, so let's talk to a gym owner. Let's say there's someone out there and they're a 2Brain client and they're in that range where they're making about $60,000 to $70,000 net owner benefit. What would you say to that gym owner right now, looking ahead to the future as a potential Tinker?
Right. So the first thing is, let's get your business stable, right? Like, let's get you making the amount of money that you need and having staff that are there to support you. You don't have to be out of the day-to-day of your business. I think that's one of the big misconceptions about Tinker is that you can't get into Tinker unless you're out of the day-to-day. There are a lot of Tinkers that absolutely love coaching. We're never going to say stop coaching. They absolutely love it. Maybe it's doing the social media for their business.
But they have the choice.
Right. You have the choice to do it. So being in Tinker doesn't mean, well, I've got to remove you from your business. So if you're listening, just don't think that you have to do that. But again, it's choice. And then think about, are you ready to be challenged? Are you ready to get uncomfortable? Are you ready to do big things that might scare you a little bit? Maybe it is walking to that room the first time. Maybe it is standing up in front of people and speaking. Maybe it is making a decision to fire somebody who's been with your business for 5 years, right? But are you willing to get uncomfortable to grow? And not just that, are you ready to grow as a person? So we talk about in one of the earlier stages in Two Brain that we're talking about growing your business. In Tinker, we really add on, let's grow you as a person as well.
And that's a really interesting one, because a lot of people, they as they're building their businesses, they use their current skills and the current person that they are, for lack of a better term, and they reach this level, and it's, let's say it's X. To get above that, they actually have to do a bunch of different stuff that they don't know how to do, or maybe can't even do. And that's the idea that you said, like hiring a bunch of staff members, managing a large team, firing people when they need to be fired, or even looking at completely different investments that require like a complete different skill set. Did you personally have to do that when you ascended into this thing? Like, I know you're an amazing gym owner and you've all these systems and processes and you're always so over prepared for everything and so detail oriented. How did you manage? Like, what is a personal thing that you did to change yourself to be a better leader?
I think the first thing is recognizing that what we said about imposter syndrome and their feelings and looking at data. So I, like I said earlier, I was very shy, very quiet, but I can't be a leader and sit in the background. I can't help more people, whether it's in my business, whether it's other gym owners, if I'm just going to sit there and say, well, I know this, but I'm too afraid to say anything. So it was getting over that fear and developing the leadership and recognizing that leadership means you have to be uncomfortable sometimes. You have to do things you don't want if you want to accomplish your goals.
I love it. Give me one, as we close this out, someone's listening right now and they're, say a struggling gym owner, maybe making $20,000, $30,000 a year or whatever, but they're working like 60 hours a week and they're struggling. What is your message from the Tinker level to that gym owner who's just getting started and really doesn't know what to do next?
Number one thing is trust the process and try not to do it all at once. We have things in steps for a reason. We have them organized as the systems person for a reason, but do every single thing along the way. And if you're sitting there questioning it, saying, I don't need to do it, it means you probably should do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. I want to thank you so much, Joleen, for giving us this look at the Tinker program. In our blog this week, Chris Cooper is going over the other parts of the Two Brain program that get you to the Tinker level. And if you're listening right now and your mentor has tapped you on the shoulder about Tinker, take a look at your numbers and let's talk. Joleen, thank you so much for being here.
Welcome. Thanks.
That was Joleen Bingham. I'm Mike Warkentin, and this is Run a Profitable Gym. Thanks for watching and listening. Wherever you are, please hit subscribe on the way out so you don't miss a single show just like this.